Ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to my first impressions of the CL-13a Sabre, the Can-Air Sabre. Now the CL-13a is a pretty serious problem for War Thunder at high level jet battles at the moment. The reason why is because it's a plane at the moment that has no natural predator. It's easily the most powerful aircraft in the game, with no equal. But how much more powerful is the aircraft really? Well, let's have a look at its statistics. We'll start with the weapons. 6 50 caliber machine guns. It carries exactly the same armament as the F-86 F-25 and the F-86 F-30. It's not the weapons. The weapons are exactly the same as these two aircraft. No, this plane's overperformance comes straight from the airframe and the engine. So let's have a look at the differences between this aircraft and say an F-86 F-25 that I think we're all fairly familiar with. The F-86 F-25 is powered by a J47 GE25 General Electric engine. That's 5,970 pounds of thrust, give or take, at full power maximum thrust on the aircraft. That's a lot for the time frame. That's easily matching up to things like the MiG-15 Biz. You know, it is a nice equivalent engine for other aircraft that are in the game. But then you come to the CL-13. Now, this is a Luftwaffe aircraft. There were 7 or 8 variants of the CL-13 that were produced. The first variant that was received by the Luftwaffe is a Sabre Mark V. I'm assuming it's a Can-Air Sabre Mark V that we're seeing in game. That's an Oriander 10 engine with 6,500 pounds of thrust. Now you're going to say 6,500 over 5,970, that's not a lot of extra power in the engine, and you're right, it's not. We're only talking 9 to 10% here, is how much more powerful the engine is. But the CL-13 was also lighter. It was nearly a quarter tonne, or 250 kilos lighter in the airframe than the F-86F was. This pushes the power to weight ratio of the CL-13 even further above the things like the F-25 and anything else that's in the game. Add to that, all the control surfaces on the CL-13 are power boosted, much like the control surfaces in the F-25, but it had bigger pumps. The control surface, the booster pumps for the hydraulics for the systems in the CL-13 was between 50 and 100 psi more powerful. That is huge. That makes a massive difference to how much control force can actually be applied to the control surfaces while at speed, increasing overall handling. Now, the CL-13 didn't get wing slats, so the F-86A will actually have an advantage on this aircraft in low-level turning, but that's one of the few aircraft in the game that will actually outperform a fully upgraded Can-Air Sabre. Actually, it's one of the few aircraft in the game that will outperform a stock Can-Air Sabre. So, the Can-Air Sabre is more powerful, lighter and more agile than any other Sabre variant in the game. It has no equal in the game at the moment. There is a reason I could see it being added, but no reason I could see it being added yet. But I'll come to that later. Now, this battle, I am not against new pilots here, nor am I against stock aircraft. The enemy team has a couple of well-known players. One of them's Oxide 1. He's a very, very, very good player. He's zooming around in his F-25 Sabre. You'll see him just behind me there at the moment. Now, what I want you to keep in mind for this entire battle, this aircraft is completely stock. I am yet to complete the first upgrade for it. This is only the 5th or 6th time I've actually taken this aircraft into battle. And just watch what it's capable of without a single upgrade over what I'm assuming is a fully upgraded F-25 Sabre. Well, a whole series of fully upgraded American jet aircraft. So first thing, I've just climbed out of the base. I was hanging to the back of the formation, didn't want to be the first person into combat. So I've snuck my way up to 18,000 feet. I now have an energy advantage, and I'm just cruising along, looking at targets, seeing what's going on. I've just realised I've been spotted in chat, saying hello. Now I'm watching Oxide at the moment. He's probably the most dangerous player on the enemy team, at least the one that I'm most worried about at the moment. Just popping the air brakes and checking one of the gauges inside the cockpit, beginning to slow myself up. trying to go through first dive. I'm wandering around a little bit here. It's a little bit of a wobble. The roll rate is actually outperformed by the F-86Fs when they're upgraded. In stock format, that's one of the areas this plane is outperformed by the F-86s. You see up at 1100, still got the shakes on, but 1200, oxide peels off. Make a turn to follow, but roll rate at speed in stock format, the F-86 will beat me at low altitudes, so I just level out and zoom away. There's no way known he can actually turn back after that turn and get back onto my tail and pursue. So I just vacate the area. And this is one of the first things I discovered in the CL-13a. It's whenever you get into a fight, regardless of what plane you're fighting against, if you decide you're not going to be able to win that fight, you're not going to be able to make that turn, you're not going to be able to get on that target, just point the nose away. And just fly away from them. There is no aircraft in the game that is able to catch you and stop you. Your power to weight ratio is so high, you out-accelerate and have a higher top speed, even stock, than pretty much any aircraft in the game. Fully upgraded, this is even more so. Fully upgraded, you'll be able to cross the map in the time it takes most aircraft simply to take off. Now, as at this point, the enemy team decided that Mags must die, so I ended up having 4 planes zoom in my direction all at once. Luckily, the rest of my team was very quick to react, and we split them up. Pulled in on the tail of this one. Now, stock guns, stock belts. Not all shells hit there. I couldn't quite yaw the plane over enough to get them completely on target, but still, the damage there was fairly crippling. One way or another, he's winding up on the ground. Whether or not he makes it back to his runway for a repair, or whether or not he smacks it into the deck on the way back, I don't know, but he's likely out of combat for the moment. Now, with that F-25 out of the way, that brings my enemy players that I have to worry about down to Oxide 1 and Wings of Freedom, and these are 2 very, very good players. This is an F-25 and an F-9, F-5 that I have to worry about now. So, time to get to work. Just trying not to give up too much altitude at the moment. I'm going to want this soon enough. So moving in on wings. Drop air brake so I don't overshoot the turn. You'll notice I don't even bother pulling back on the throttles here. The plane from this altitude is easily capable of pulling out of these dives. Just a little bit of air brake just to make sure I don't overshoot. Come out at just under 900 kilometers an hour, more than fast enough. Make my pass, wing spots me coming, he brakes hard left. I try and get a speculative shot on him, can't get enough lead, and just pull it straight into a climb out over the mountains. Oxide passes over, just pass in underneath him, and just keep flying in a straight line. There's no point. Even if they turn, they can't catch me at the moment. So again, just using superior speed of a stock aircraft over upgraded aircraft to simply clear out of the battle zone. I'm not fighting at an advantage at the moment. I'm not going to make an easy kill, and I'm only going to make an easy target of myself if I try. So I can just pull away. Now, the fact that I can do this in a stock aircraft against upgraded aircraft shows exactly how big a problem this is. With full upgrades, this plane will be uncatchable by anything but another CL-13. There is no aircraft in the game that will be able to get it. This thing will be able to outrun many aircraft that are coming out of a dive. But anyways, I've made my turn and I'm heading back to the battle. I'm back at altitude again. I'm back having an altitude advantage. Still 2-2 players. The F-25 that I mauled the tail off before crashed on way back to base. No kill was awarded, unfortunately, which sucks. So let's go have a go at wings again. Now, again, does the right thing, pulls into a hard turn, straight in underneath me. Take it straight into the vertical. I have too much speed on to deal with something like an F-9F. I need to attack from an exceptionally high altitude, and I need more control. apex at 400 kilometers an hour and begin the counter to the loop. Straight back into a dive. Now just watching the target to work out exactly how to set my angle up here. Straight in the vertical, just beginning to shallow it out now. Air brakes are deployed, lining up. And there we go. Fold the air brakes away. Out of the area. That's Wings of Freedom eliminated. Now we're going to go deal with Oxide. And that's a maneuver that I really enjoy doing in my sabres. Extremely high angle of attack dives onto targets to make a kill. The CL-13 just does it so well. This thing's, well, I've said it multiple times, this thing is dead stock, and it just did that dive and attack better than my fully upgraded F2 Sabre was capable of doing it ever. Now the plan here is to do exactly the same thing to Oxide. So just beginning my move over, I'm at about 5,000, 6,000 feet. I've got plenty of the altitude that I need, just gaining the airspeed to go into the vertical for my setup. Oxide passes underneath, again, pull it straight up into a vertical. Now, where's he going to go? Going that way, so rotate the plane. 400 beginning my apex. Turn into the dive. Okay, I'm rolled in. The only thing I did wrong here is I misjudged my speed. I let it get too fast, too quick. And I was overconfident in the plane. But I get Oxide as well as lose myself. Now, the bit that you keep in mind on that, I was unable to pull out of that dive because I was completely not judging my speed correctly. However, had I had the second level booster upgrade, or had I pulled the throttles back by 10%, I would have pulled out of that and still killed Oxide. So the results for this match were 3rd place, 2 kills, final blow, bulletproof, 53,110 silver lions. I got 4,660 mod research points and 10,250 air research points to go towards the MiG-15 biz. And you can see I'm still on fuselage repair. I'm still on the 1st upgrade now. I'm not even halfway through it yet. And this is the thing with the CL-13. None of the pilots on the enemy team in this match did anything wrong. In the case of Oxide, he was engaging CL-13s pretty much the entire match. He flew brilliantly. But a noob jet pilot in a stock CL-13 has so much of an aircraft advantage in terms of power, speed, manoeuvrability and handling that even experienced pilots in upgraded lesser machines have trouble balancing out the battle. The fact that the CL-13 in stock format can just choose, no, I don't want to be a part of this fight, and just fly away from everything, and nothing can catch it, is... That's a huge advantage, to be able to have a high enough power to weight ratio to just turn around and go, no, screw you guys, I'm out of here. And have nothing be able to stop you from just leaving the battle and coming back when you choose. Now all these advantages I'm talking about at the moment are simply advantages that every new player can have, but the thought of experienced players, extremely good saber pilots in CL-13s, fully upgraded, just completely destabilizes all balance for high level battles. Now I said at the start of this first impressions that I could see a reason for it being put in, but just not a reason for it being put in yet. There is a balance issue at the time frame that Gaijin has selected for top-end aircraft at this point in time. That balance issue is regarding US versus Russia. The MiG-15 is MiG-15 biz is a competitive aircraft. The F-86 F-Sabre is a competitive aircraft. But Germany, it took Germany and Gaijin a long time to work out what the hell to do with Germany and Japan, and are still trying to work out what to do with Britain in regards to competitive aircraft. Because within the time frame that they have set themselves, they had none. The CL-13 wasn't received by the Luftwaffe until well after the cut-off date, despite the fact that earlier variants of this aircraft had flown beforehand. But at the time of this machine flying, there were other aircraft now in service, aircraft that on Gaijin's current cut-off date are not are not able to be added. And I'm talking about, the Hawker Hunter for the British, the CL-27 Sabre that Australian produced, the later H, J and L series F-86 Sabres from the US, the MiG-17 from the Russians. I can see the CL-13 being added to the game if Gaijin was planning on introducing these aircraft to try and find a semblance, a bigger balance across more of the nations, and making the cutoff point the introduction of guided missiles, so we'll never see those in the game. That would make sense to me. Introducing the aircraft now when none of those comparable fighters are in the game makes no sense to me. It's turned high-level jet battles into, well, simply cases of arcade battles, Sabre versus Sabre over Korea. I've seen battles in the process of getting the footage that I needed to put together these first impressions that were simply nothing but CL-13a Sabres on the Russian team and F-86F Sabres on the American team. Just, it's completely unbalanced. And if they change it at the moment it's sitting on the Russian side, flying with the Russian teams to make up for the imbalance of the MiG-15, trying to make the fights more interesting. However, eventually the CL is going to have to be shifted to fighting with the American sides, and in its current state, whichever side it fights for, it's going to break the matchmaking on. Regardless of what Gaijin's thinking, this is a plane that shouldn't have been introduced to War Thunder at this time, but it is clearly the most powerful machine available to do the job of high-tier battles. And as a result, this is going to be the flavour of the month plane until either Gaijin nerfs the plane below its realistic capabilities, much like they did with the D-13 once, or until a plane is introduced that is capable of combating it. Besides that, this is the machine that is just going to continually club high-tier battles at all times, repetitively. And as a result, I likely won't be flying it anymore. Much like most of the other seal clubbing planes, this one is going to go in the back of my hangar, and I'm not pulling it out until Gaijin gets around to fixing the matchmaking and putting something that can actually fight it into battle. Which is a real shame, because despite the current matchmaking that it gets, I really did enjoy the aircraft. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this one here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.